morning, or depending when you're watching this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name's Ross, and as always told, out of voice for radio. So today, we need to continue our look at all the cards in Legendary Beat, Legends Heartbeat, I don't really know, one of those, or something similar. We're going to look at all the grass Pokemon today. I'm taking this type by type. We've looked at all the big cards. We are now rounding up some of the interesting but not huge cards. We're going type by type, and I'm afraid there's 4 grass Pokemon that we need to look at here. So, frankly, ladies and gentlemen, we need to get a move on. Translations come from the lovely Joe over at Cerebi.net and the lovely Antoine Boulet. Frankly, 2 of our favourite people here. Go team! And we're starting off with Genesect. It's Genesect. It's a legendary Pokemon. It's bound to be good. Well, 120 HP is lower than stuff we've seen on Pokemon like Xerneas lately, so that's kind of upsetting. Retreat cost of 2 does mean we can use Air Balloon, but doesn't give free retreat, so that's kind of upsetting. Weakness to fire, as all of these Pokemon have, means weakness to Welder-Dex, and they're really good right now. And all these Pokemon are going to hit weakness on grass-weak Pokemon. And to be fair, Colossal V and VMAX do look really good, so you are at least going to have weakness on them. That's a good thing. But grass doesn't really have any tricks other than Turffield Stadium, which will let you search out an evolved grass Pokemon. Cool. So specifically Genesect, then what do we see? 2 energy, 50 damage to one of your opponent's Pokemon. And this is back to the point I've made several times of, why are they just keeping us out of range of a KO? Because that's really upsetting to me, right? There's a whole bunch of 60 HP evolving Pokemon out there. Now there's a bunch of Pokemon like Jirachi, Galarian, Zigzagoon, etc. that actually come in at 70 HP that you'd be missing anyway. But at least with 60 you'd be able to get a bunch of evolving / weaker Pokemon. I mean, this will get stuff like Wishy-Washy, woo! And Ditto, or it would if it didn't rotate out. And I suppose it'll get Snom, which might see some play. But it's just not enough. We want to be doing 60 or ideally 70. Plus the 2 energy, I mean, fine, in a Rillaboom deck you'll pay it nice and easily, but outside of that, it's just awkward. Similarly, free energy, 120 damage. This Pokemon can't attack during your next turn. What, because it did such a great attack last turn? And don't get me wrong, something like Colossal will be taken down here, which is nice, but only the V, not the V Max. You'll get a bunch of single prize Pokemon, but not all of them. There's still plenty of them out there, like the aforementioned Xerneas coming in at 130. And then you can't attack next turn? Free energy 120 is a fairly standard underwhelming attack. No. Now here's the thing, in a Rillaboom deck, if you need a single prize attacker, this will do. I mean, I'd rather attack with Rillaboom and hit 140, quite frankly, even if it is for an extra energy. But it's a competent single prize attacker, but you need to be playing it in something like Rillaboom in order to actually make the most of it. It's one of these Pokemon that is so close to being good, but the first attack doesn't do enough damage, the second attack doesn't do enough damage, and it only really works in a Rillaboom deck. I don't know, let's give it 3 Wassies, because there's still some decent tech potential in here. Moving on then, let's have a little bit of a chat about Exeggutor. Often has super interesting cards that give us super interesting combos. Does this one do that? Not really. 140 HP is high for a stage 1, I'll give you that. And the attack for a single grass energy, which according to Joe is called Spoiled Egg, does 30 damage. And you choose one of your opponent's active Pokemon's attacks, and during your opponent's next turn, that Pokemon cannot use that attack. And we've seen plenty of attacks like this before, and my thought on them is the same as it's been pretty much every time. There are certain Pokemon where this is going to be amazing. Take something like Colossal V Max. It's got an attack for 1 energy and an attack for 4. So if it doesn't have 4 energy on, turn off the first attack, you'll be good. Something like Zacian that only has 1 attack, or Zamazenta that only has 1 attack, turn it off, you're good to go. I mean, Eternatus V Max is looking really good post-rotation, and again, 1 attack, turn it off, you're good to go. But your opponent can just switch, or retreat, or evolve, and then you've got nothing. The thing is, let's say this attack did 80, 100 damage, then you would legitimately be getting 2, 3, maybe 4 hit KOs while turning off their attack, and you're good to go. But I mean, you can sit there and turn off Zacian's Brave Blade while you 8 hit KO. And I hate to break it to you, but at some point in those 8 turns, your opponent is going to be able to retreat Zacian or switch or whatever. And that's my biggest issue with this attack. It's too easy to play around it. It's nice to turn off your opponent's attacks, don't get me wrong, but the fact you're doing such low damage just gives your opponent so much time to get round it. And then we've got Grass Double Colorless 90 damage. Well, if I didn't like Free Energy 120, I'm not going to like Free Energy 90. Sure, the fact that there's 2 colorless energy in the cost does mean you can use Twin Energy. Fine. But I'm sorry, ladies and gentlemen. Essentially, everything I just said about Genesect's underwhelming attack is as underwhelming here, except it's actually a little bit less whelming, more underwhelming. Call it what you will. I'm not a fan. I'm sorry. Hey ho. Now, Yanmega's kind of a fun one here. Yanmega comes in with, because it's part flying type, it does actually come in with slightly different weakness and resistance. Ha, only joking. Still weak to fire. It does have 130 HP, which on a stage 1 is quite high. And I do like the free retreat. The free retreat here is awesome. And it's got a hit and run attack. 2 energy, 50 damage, switch this Pokemon with one of your bench Pokemon. And because it's an evolved non-GX Pokemon, you can use Twin Energy and you can use Triple Acceleration Energy. Either of these will do absolutely fine. And now we've got a nice hit and run Pokemon. Incidentally, the second attack, 4 energy, 130 damage. It's not particularly good. I'm not particularly excited. We're not going to be talking very much about it. I'm sorry. But I do like this first attack, because we've got options for hit and run attacks at the moment. We got Lily's Pokédoll that sits in the active and doesn't give up a prize. We've got Galarian Cassola, which, if it's KO'd, you flip a coin. If heads, you also KO the attacking Pokemon. And you got free retreat here, which really helps. But essentially, you hit 50, go to the bench, hit 50, go to the bench, all the while making your opponent muck about with whatever it is that you've chosen to put in the active while you've been switching to the bench. But is 50 damage enough? That's what I keep coming back to. I mean, the biggest competition we probably got in terms of hit and run decks at the moment is Hitmonchan. Hitmonchan comes along, single fighting energy, 30 damage, and okay, 30 is less than 50, but time you start building in stuff like Martial Arts Dojo and pre-rotation Diancie Prism Star, you're actually doing more, and you're a basic Pokemon, and you're hitting a much better weakness. Oh. And then, of course, when the next set does hit, we're going to have Greedent. Now, Greedent is more Mean Shao, in that it flicks into your hand rather than to the bench, but it also does 100 damage for a Twin Energy, so we're totally going to forgive it. And that's my biggest problem with Yanmega. I like Yanmega. I love that it's a hit-and-run Pokemon, and it's certainly amongst the best hit-and-run Pokemon we've got in the format at the moment. But unfortunately, especially by the time this comes out, I'm not seeing a great reason to play this over Greedent. It does half the amount of damage. Sure, it flicks to the bench rather than going into your hand, but I'd still rather take double damage, thank you very much. A fun card, not a bad card by any stretch of the imagination, but not one I think we're going to be falling over ourselves to play. Of course, we could compare that to something like Greedent, that I do think is going to see a huge amount of play. And finally, we can have a look at my boy, Dhelmise. I adore Dhelmise. Dhelmise, as a Pokemon, is one that I absolutely adore. Dhelmise is one of my favourite Gen 7 Pokemon, right? Big fan of Dhelmise. So I want this card to be really good. I want this to be a really nice card that's going to make me super happy and all of that. Is it? I mean, didn't get its own video. 130 HP we do like. That is quite nice. That is a little bit higher, so go team. But 1 energy, 20 damage, what? No! As I always say, back in the day when we had Choice Band, if we could hit for weakness to 100 for a single energy, I could kind of get behind these attacks. Even then it wasn't good, but I could kind of get behind it. But just literally hitting 20 damage for 1 energy, no. 1 grass, 2 colorless energy, 60 damage. If this Pokemon has a special energy attached to it, this attack does 60 more damage. Okay, cool, I suppose. And the good news is, I showed you a Roma grass energy the other day. It prevents the Pokemon it's attached to, if they're a grass Pokemon, being affected by special conditions, so that's nice. And obviously you can use Twin Energy here, so that's a bonus. Problem is, even after all of that, it does the same amount of damage Genesect does. But Genesect's got a way better first attack. Now, admittedly, Genesect is 2 grass, 1 colorless, rather than 1 grass, 2 colorless, and that is relevant. But then again, Dhelmise has to have a special energy attached. And I don't think I can necessarily sit here telling you how I'm not a huge fan of Genesect, but you never know, it could be a fun tech, and then start telling you about Dhelmise and start telling you how great it is. Which means I probably have to concede, as sad as this makes me, that maybe Dhelmise is not a great Pokemon. I know, right? That's like all sad and stuff. Unfortunately, I'm not seeing a huge reason to play this. Yes, it's got a decent attack that does decent damage, and it will KO Vs like Colossal, but not VMAXs. But then again, the attack cost is kind of awkward, so you're probably going to end up playing it in a Rillaboom deck, and in a Rillaboom deck, I'd rather have Genesect if it's all the same to you. So I'm giving it between 3 and 4 Wassies. We don't give half Wassies, that would be barbaric. Did I give a score to Yanmega? Yanmega gets 3 Wassies. There we go. I don't think any of these cards are out and out terribly trash garbage, but I don't think any of them are going to make anybody run to make decks built around them in the not too distant future. Although I do think Genesect could be a nice tech in a Rillaboom deck, so that might be something to consider. For now, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to know what you think about all of these cards, so let me know in the comment section. Go nuts, be nice, and then make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at TheWassie, and Twitch for some live action at twitch.tv/PTCGRadio. If you want to support the channel, get some bonus podcasts and all that good stuff, head on over to patreon.com/PTCGRadio, where you can do exactly that. But by far the most important thing, as always, look after yourselves till next time, would ya? Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching PTCG Radio.